right to the left. I'm going to take 4 questions. Please be crisp and to the point as we head for 9 o'clock. Who wants to go first on the right-hand side? Madame, right there at the back in the white. I recognize you. Please ask your question. Right there at the back.
I am going to address myself to President Obasanjo because Mr. President said I survived the Nigerian Civil War. I got to Nigeria in 1966, right just before the Civil War, and I survived it. I thank God for that. Now I have a new worry about Nigeria because there is Boko Haram. And I just want to ask whether you think we are going to be able to contain the activities of Boko Haram or whether it's going to multiply on the continent just as we have seen in Iraq and in Afghanistan. What do we do to contain this new threat to peace in Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you very much. President Obasanjo, we'll come to that. Do you mind if we take the other questions? Over here. Sir, thank you.
My question goes to the Honorable President Thabo. President Mbeki, we've seen people like Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, and Patrice Lumumba, who actually died because they were protecting their own people. And the learned professor Umber Elawan said, those who only believe in what they see are idiots, basically in a nutshell. We don't know what happened. And we know, now that we know some of us, that you fall within the category of the 3 latter prisoners that I've mentioned earlier on. Do you think in your mind that the Western forces could have had a doing in the manner in which the continent is going? And if that is the case, what is it that you did that is not being done right now in order to preserve peace and promote growth in this continent? And if you can, please, President, don't answer us as a politician. We love you. We want your real answers.
There was a hand to the back. I recognize.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to welcome the debate by the former presidents. I'd like to introduce myself first. My name is Vuyo Maeli, so I'm a working class from Statistics South Africa, representing the African National Congress and the African National Congress Youth League of 180 in the inner city. Firstly, I'm going to ask this question and elaborate shortly why I'm asking it, because people will be confused. The question is that, my liberators, don't you think that it's time that Africa must start strengthening the military of Africa? Reason is that I'm asking this question. When we talk about the economy, if you look at the balance of payment in economics, the country is run by the exports and the imports. So you must have more exports than imports. And comrade, as I said, the comrade from Cape Verde said that we need to produce our own things. And these productions that we have, that we must produce our own things, is that when Westerns want this interest, they do it by force. If you can look at America, it's been run by military. So I'm saying that if we can strengthen our military, first we must invest in the military. Thank you very much.
Just a quick one to our beloved panelists. I'm Utsile from Harangua, right here in Pretoria. My question is really on the youth. You know, it was emphasized several times, the issue of the youth, you know, and now my question is, how do we as the youth, you know, in last year's memorial lecture, there was an issue that was emphasized about walking in the footsteps of the founding fathers of liberation. How do we strategically and logically do that? You know, because given the circumstances of that time compared to the circumstances of this time, you know, and we know that the crux of the challenges of this time, the 21st century, that are facing us is the economic problems. You know, so how do we position ourselves as the youth strategically to can be able to solve the problems of today, working on the footsteps of the founding fathers of liberation?
I will dedicate that question to President Chisano. You know,
Right.
Thank you very much. President Obasanjo.
Thank you very much.
President Obasanjo, sorry to interrupt. As we draw to a close, you are asked a very specific question. In doing that, could you also reflect for us on your understanding of the current global conjuncture we find ourselves in? What are the threats that we are facing? Is there a proliferation of global forces? How should we organize ourselves in reaction to that? But please, first the question by the lady. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much, my dear sister. I congratulate you. You said you came in back to Nigeria in 1966 and you survived the Civil War. I fought the Civil War and I survived the Civil War. So that makes sense. So you and I are on the same wavelength. But the issue of Boko Haram, when it first broke, I must say personally, I didn't take it seriously. But when they went or they attempted to bomb the police headquarters, and they successfully bombed the UN building, I thought that we had a serious issue in our hand. At that point, I wanted to find out what really was behind all this. And I went to the authorities of the country and I asked for permission to do a fact-finding on my own. I was granted that permission. I went to Maiduguri, which was their base. And in Maiduguri, by proxy, I met them. By proxy, I mean they didn't physically appear to me, but they talked to me through their lawyer. They had a lawyer. And I wanted to know, was there really an organization? What was the organization about? How were they organized? And did they have leaders? If they have leaders, what were their leaders up to? What was their objective? And do they have grievances? What were their grievances? Can their grievances be addressed? And do they have internal connection, external connection and all that? My dear sister, I found all these out. And I just end on my conclusion from my finding. I found that, yes, they are what I would call a fundamentalist religious group. They had an objective of making all Muslims in Nigeria to be Sharia compliant. They also had specific grievances that I believe could be addressed. They were not really tied to any known external organization as such. So at that stage, I thought it could be, the issue could be isolated and they could be dealt with through what I call carrot and stick. Well, it's taking some time now. I did that early September last year. They've waxed stronger since then. They've been emboldened, but I still believe that it is a menace that can be dealt with. The approach, of course, has to be worked out. you have to know what we are dealing with and how we are dealing with them. But I still believe that we should deal with them through what I call carrot and stick. The carrot, let us find out what they want and if we can address their grievances and all that. And then if that fails, then the stick should come in. And the issue of what really should be our concern in the world that we serve today. I believe since the year 2008, when we had the financial and economic crisis in America, and then now we've got Eurozone debt and all that. I think then, of course, from there we got the so-called Arab Spring. I think that gave us an indication that new phenomena are evolving in the world. 10 years ago, anybody would say America cannot suffer the type of depression. Europe will not go into the type of debt that they have. So we need to learn the right lesson. Not my fault. Okay. You see, my brother will always put me right. So we need to know that these three things that have happened, we are not immune from them. The economic and financial crisis in America, the euro debt in European Union, and the so-called Arab Spring, which came out of the neglect of the youth, the papering over things. I take where it started, Tunisia. I've been through Tunisia, visited Tunisia. On the surface, everything looks perfect. Everything looks right. But one young man whose kiosk was taken by the police, who is a university graduate, he found that, look, in desperation, in frustration, he killed himself. And that sparked off. We are sitting on a keg of gunpowder in Africa if we do not handle youth unemployment. To me, that is one thing we must not play with. Our youth must be educated, they must be given skill, they must get employment. If we don't do that, we have another problem. In fact, I call it African winter. I know that in Africa, except in South Africa, we don't have winter. So if we have to have winter, then it's a bad thing for us. God forbid we have African winter.